What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 3 of Nick Talk Sports. And today we have the reaction to the Super Bowl. A super celebration episode, as you could say. Obviously, I am an Eagles fan. As many of y'all know, I will state my fanhood. I have been an Eagles fan for a long time. And that game yesterday was probably the best game I have ever seen an Eagles team play. I've ever seen an Eagles team play. It was complete domination. Special teams, defense, and offense. I mean, brother, it's our second Lombardi trophy, bro. And I know a lot of other franchises have more, but it's not necessarily, it's not all about the past. Right now, I'm gonna sit here. I'm celebrating. I still feel like I'm on cloud 9 from that game yesterday. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of you guys saw my you saw you saw the prediction that I had last week when I said I thought it was going to be 31-17 Eagles. I truly did not know that we were going to come out and do that. But I will say this. The later into the week that we got and closer to game time, for some reason, the game started feeling more and more like it was going to go one of two ways. All right. I feel like that game was either going to be a close Chiefs win or oh my god, dude. I am so tired. Oh my god. It was either going to be a close Chiefs win or Philly was going to blow them out. I feel like there was no in between at that point. Like I feel like the later in the week that it got, the more and more a blowout seemed to be coming, and I don't know why. Maybe it was the fact that our players weren't talking a lot, and it's just everything that you saw from Eagles players. Everyone just seems so locked in and so focused. And I mean, I don't know. I was still sticking with my whole thing that it was going to be 31-17 because I knew Kansas City wasn't going to go down without a fight. Granted, they laid down and Philly shot them in the head in like the second quarter and put them away like a sick dog. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I mean, we scored 16 points late in that, like, just to ice that game away. I mean, we got into Mahomes' head. It was pure domination. And I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not gonna bash Chiefs fans, but I mean, I know there was a lot of Chiefs fans on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, saying how it's crazy how Eagles fans are so cocky right now, and there's no reason why Eagles fans should be this cocky. You remember who you're playing. Like, Eagles fans are saying this game's going to be a blowout. It's not going to be a blowout. It's like, I mean, there was a point, I'm not going to lie, I even put a tweet out midway through the third quarter and was like, Chiefs fans, are y'all seeing why we were so confident? Like, a lot of us realized that this Eagles team was different. And I think a lot of us knew that. And I mean, for me I'm not going to sit here and just toot my own horn and be like, look, yes, I'm a fan of the Eagles. And there was, I mean, that at the end of the day, that game was an absolute ass whooping. And there was no other way to put it. I mean, we thoroughly kicked their ass on every aspect of the game. Don't get me wrong. Kansas City came out flying around in that game. And I mean, they had a spectacular game. 100%. It was a spectacular. They started spectacularly. Stopped us early, forced a punt. We stopped them, forced a punt, and then once that second drive happened, and the deep ball to Jahan Dotson. It's almost like, okay, this game is starting to trend towards Philly. And look, I will say this. There were early in the game, there was two very bad penalties to be called there. The OPI on AJ Brown and then the unsportsmanlike conduct on Trent McDuffie. So I understand in most cases you call that OPI. Like 10 times out of 10, the AJ Brown, the little push off that he had, yes, you call that OPI. I do, however, think it was slight ticky tack on that. I'm not gonna lie. Like you probably shouldn't have called that penalty at all. Like you probably shouldn't have called that. Like even like if you watch the game, you probably heard Tom Brady be like, "No, like you shouldn't call that. You need to let this be handled on the field." I understand it's a penalty, but again, it's so minuscule that it's like he didn't intentionally do it. Like it was one of those things. They were fighting down the field and he was just looking to get a little bit, like it wasn't even a push off. He had him at arm's length and he went up and got it. But again, right before he went up and caught the ball, the little hand on the face. I understand that, yes, it needs to be called. That penalty should be called. It is what it is. Should it have been called in that moment though? Absolutely not. And that little ticky tack kind of penalty should have not been called in that game. And then the unsportsmanlike on McDuffie against Goddard, where I mean that was well, I'll be honest, that was a bullshit penalty. Like he didn't intentionally go up to hit Goddard. He went up to break up the pass and play the ball in the air. Even though the ball was overthrown, it's fine. Ball was overthrown, but it's still you shouldn't be calling that. That again, two penalties, one worked out for Philly, one works out for KC. It's just neither one of those penalties should have been called, and they were both called on third downs, which is the rough part. And then I think the only other penalty that I can truly say that it was a little fucked was there was one where KC jumped and they called it a snap infraction on Lovato, which I never heard that penalty get called before in my fucking life. So I mean, I don't know. That was another one that maybe you don't call and you probably give just Philly the first down. But I mean, that was a little bit bigger because then you're basically taking 3 off the board and potentially putting like 7. So I mean, I get that not being called at that point. But I mean, all in all, man, I mean, Philly made it, and I think the whole thing was the refs were going to decide this game. Philly came out and said, "Fuck that, we're making this game way too big of a margin for the refs to even try to initiate this." And I think a lot of that comes back to 2 years ago. And I'm not saying that the penalty is the only reason why we lost that game. Because look, there was a lot of other shit. I mean, us not making adjustments defensively going into the second half was a huge thing. But I think it was one of those things where Philly wanted to have so much room between them and Kansas City that even if there were mistakes that happened, even if there were bad penalties that were called, it wasn't going to affect the outcome. They did not want that game to be close. They wanted that game to be a slaughter and to make a statement. That's exactly what happened. They've been doing it all year, making statements in games all season. So that was exactly what that was. Before we go any farther into this, why don't we just go and break down everything? So, as many of you know, the final score of this game was 40-22. Kansas City did late in the game, they did put up 16 in the fourth quarter. However, most of those fourth quarter points to 16, that was all garbage time points. Once Philly was up 40-6, I mean, that game was over at that point. Their last touchdown came on like a 50-yard touchdown to Xavier Worthy. I mean, look, if the Chiefs would have been throwing the deep ball, which I think a lot of it was the fact that our coverage was locking up their deep routes, because there were a couple of times you saw Pat go to throw it deep. The first play of the game, he faked like he was going deep. He definitely wanted to rip the ball, but I think he saw it was like, oh shit, okay, they're shelling over the top very well. And the other one was the one where Milton Williams had the strip sack where he loaded up to throw and we just got to him. I mean, they put up 16 in garbage time to make this game look a lot closer than what it was. This game was not close whatsoever. Philly won this game convincingly, and honestly, if it wasn't for our defense kind of playing shell going into that second to last touchdown that they scored, I mean, we probably could have dropped 50 on their ass. Like, we really could have. If we didn't bench our starters, yes. And also, let's put that in consideration. We benched our starters. We benched our starters with their the third to last drive of the game. We knew the game was over. We benched our starters, dude. Kenny Pickett took snaps in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts didn't even take the final kneel down. So again, the point is Kansas City scored 2 touchdowns on us on our starting defense. One of which was actually when the game was still kind of in hand. It was 30, I think it was 34-6 at that point, and then we just added on the 2 field goals to make it 40-6, and then the 2 other touchdowns came and made it look a lot closer than what it was. But I mean, this game was not close whatsoever. So I got the stats right here. I got the box score. Patrick Mahomes was 12 of 32 for 257 yards, 8 yards per throw, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 6 times for a loss of 31 yards. Patrick Mahomes had a QBR in this game of 11.4. 11.4. He threw an interception to a diving Zach Bond, and then threw an interception to Cooper DeJean, who picked it off and took it to the house. The birthday boy, with his first career interception coming in the Super Bowl, returning it for a touchdown. Let's just put it this way. Before the second half, the Chiefs had 23 total yards of offense. 23 total yards of offense. They had less yards than we had points. I mean, our defense. Mahomes dropped back 32 times. 38, actually. I think it was 38. Yeah, 38. He dropped back 38 times. The Eagles did not send a single blitz all game. We did not blitz an extra blitzer. Vic Fangio said, my 4 guys up front are better than your 5, and we're going to show you. That's exactly what we did. We did what Tampa Bay did to them in the Super Bowl a couple years ago in 2021. We went out, we shelled everything else, and we blitzed and we just let our front 4 win. And we put Mahomes in a fucking blender. That interception rattled him. Once we started sacking him, you could just tell. I will also say this, though. I do have a feeling Mahomes might have had a concussion. Because after the first drive, he went down, and when he got sacked, his head knocked against the field. He could have had a concussion. Why that wasn't anything was said about that, maybe he didn't. But I mean, come on, dude. Your head snapped and hit it hit the turf hard. And there had to be something going on there. I mean, he had to be feeling a little woozy. Rushing, the Chiefs had 226 net passing yards. That was after the 31 yards of sack that come off. Chiefs threw for damn near a little bit over 200 yards, and most of that came against our 50 of that came against our secondary, or not against our second string, on like the last touchdown he threw. Patrick Mahomes, or rushing, Chiefs had 11 carries for 49 yards. Mahomes was their lead rusher with 25 yards. Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine, and Isaiah Pacheco all ran for under 10 yards. Xavier Worthy balled out. I will give Xavier Worthy credit. He might be the next Tyreek Hill. He is super fast. He's super speedy. He's super quick. He knows how to make this happen. He had 8 catches for 157 yards, breaking the record for most receiving yards by a rookie in the Super Bowl. Congratulations, X. Awesome game, man. I mean, 8 catches, 157 yards. Dude, awesome fucking game. Awesome game, man. He was the Chiefs' offense. No one else wanted to show up. DeAndre Hopkins drops a wide open pass that he probably could have ran for another 10 to 20 yards. Travis Kelce was held catchless in the first half. Finished with 8 catches, 39 yards. I'm a huge Travis Kelce fan too. I mean, I consider him an honorary Eagle with how much time Jason put in with us. I love Travis Kelce. All right. I don't love him when we play in the Super Bowl, man. I want us to beat him. DeAndre Hopkins, 2 catches, 18 yards. He did have a touchdown catch. Worthy did have 2 touchdowns. Juju had 2 catches for 16 yards. Hollywood Brown had 2 catches for 15 yards. Kareem Hunt and Pacheco both had 1 catch for 5 yards. Noah Gray, 1 catch for 2 yards. Patrick Mahomes did fumble. Tackles was Drew Tranquil had 11. There weren't many sacks. I mean, Tranquil had a sack. Karlaftis had a sack. They had 2 total sacks. However, I will say this. They did a hell of a job against Saquon Barkley. They had 10 TFLs in that game. They did an awesome job. They locked in on Barkley. They knew they wanted to go in and get after Barkley. Brian Cook with a interception as well. Nico Remigio had 3 returns for 84 yards, and he had 1 punt return for 5 yards. Matt Araiza punted 6 times for 311 yards. Matt Araiza had the most yards in their fucking team and outgained their total offense in punt yards. That's pretty fucking sad, dude. I mean, let's get to the Eagles. Man. Jalen Hurts, 17 of 22, 221 yards. Jalen Hurts, I don't give a shit what anyone says. Jalen Hurts outplayed fucking Patrick Mahomes again in the Super Bowl. That's now 2 matchups between Jalen and Pat, and Jalen's outplayed him both times. 10 yards per attempt. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, which was the one early in the game, and after that, kind of just settled into a rhythm. He was sacked 2 times for 11 yards. I had a 75.4 QBR and a passer rating of 119.7. Kenny Pickett threw 1 pass. It was an overthrow. Did not matter. We had a total of 210 yards. Jalen Hurts rushing the ball had 11 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown. 3 total touchdowns from Jalen. Awesome fucking job, man. Awesome job. I can't say enough about that. I mean, he fucking awesome job. Saquon Barkley, 25 carries, 57 yards. Arguably Barkley's worst game of the season. And we still won by basically 30 points. What is that showing you? This whole narrative of make Jalen Hurts beat you is becoming stale. We can no longer say the way to beat the Eagles is to put the ball in Jalen Hurts' hand and make him throw the ball. Bro, you got these analysts who are going to continuously say this and continuously push all of this are going to run this narrative into the fucking ground, dude. Because at the end of the day, everyone's still going to look at it and be like, well, he was probably the weakest MVP. He was probably the weakest quarterback to ever win MVP. It's like, brother, he had almost 300 total yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, again, he did the same thing 2 years ago, except he had 4 touchdowns last time. I mean, dude, what do you want? He can't do anything more. We had constant short fields, so obviously our yardage reflected that, and it's going to get into that more with the receiving yards, because I think honestly Barkley wasn't our lead receiver. I thought he was though, but I mean, like when you are constantly starting with possession around the 50 or in opponent's territory, I mean, dude, you're not driving the length of the field. And the one time that we did drive the length of the field, I mean, we drained clock and we got field goals. Like, there was a huge difference between when we actually started driving the field, we were draining clock and doing what we needed to do. And then we didn't need to score touchdowns at that point. We could be like, all right, we've drained enough clock. If we get stopped, we're just going to kick a field goal and extend the lead even more. I mean, it got to that point. And when you get to that point, it's kind of like, I mean, what else do you fucking want, bro? Like, what else do you want? So like I said, Jalen Hurts 11 carries. Kenny had 6 carries for 10 yards, and Kenny Pickett had 3 carries for -4. All covering of the 3 deal outs to win the game. Getting and receiving. Our lead receiver was Barkley with receptions, not yards though. Smitty had 4 receptions, 69 yards and a touchdown. AJ had 3 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. Jahan Dotson, 2 catches for 42 yards. Saquon Barkley, 6 catches for 40. Dallas Goedert, surprisingly, because Goddard 8 Kansas City alive last time. 2 catches for 27 yards. And then Johnny Wilson had a target but dropped the ball. Milton Williams had a fumble, a forced fumble, and a recovery. Zach Bond had his interception. Josh Sweat had 3 sacks. Milt had 2 sacks. JD had a sack. Jalix Hunt had half a sack. We had 6 total TFLs, 6 total sacks. And then Isaiah Rodgers had a pass breakup, though, which is almost an interception. Avonte Maddox had a huge third down pass deflection. Cooper DeJean had a touchdown and an interception. And our lead tackler only had 7. So this is the thing, too. You're going to see it. I didn't mention a lot of secondary guys. So Coop had his interception. CJ didn't really do much. Q didn't do much. I mean, he laid a boomstick on somebody at one point early in the game. Slay didn't really have to do much. I mean, we were just getting after Pat so much that there was no need for us. Like, our secondary didn't really get much play. Reed Blankenship was a non-factor. CD was a non-factor. Q was a non-factor. Slay was a non-factor. Coop made his one play that he needed to, and that was the pick 6. Bond made a tremendous time. I mean, a lot of our plays, our D-line was fucking them up, dude. I mean, even when they did get positive yards, I feel like it was our D-line making tackles. Like, their running game, they had maybe a couple of runs that went over 5 yards. And I think they only had 1 yard that wasn't that wasn't a scramble from Pat that went over 10 yards. I mean, dude, it was like ridiculous. Like, I have never seen such a dominating defensive performance. And I mean, this game, this defensive performance, I think was better than what the Bucs did in 21. Excuse me. I feel like this defensive performance was better than what the Bucs did in 21 against Pat, but also, I feel like this is a top 5 Super Bowl defensive performance. I mean, it's ridiculous to say it and crazy to say it, but I mean, it's up there with the Seahawks against the Broncos and the 85 Bears in the Super Bowl and the 2000 Ravens and the 2002 Bucks and now the 21 Bucks and now you have the 25 Eagles. Like, brother, this Super Bowl defensive performance was one of, if not, I mean, I'm not going to say if not, it was probably, to be completely honest with you, it was probably the 4th best Super Bowl defensive performance of all time. It was top 5. I mean, 1 goes to the 85 Bears. 2, I would say, goes to the 02 Bucks. 3 would go to the Seahawks against Denver in, I think, 2013. And then 4 would go to the 2000 Ravens. And I mean, the problem is there's only one clear number 1 with that, and that's the 85 Bears. I mean, that defense was absolutely disgusting. And then I feel like 2, 3, and 4, you can kind of stack them however you want. But I mean, just me saying this, I mean, the 02 Bucks, I feel like, is clearly number 2 because of how they just dominated Oakland in that game. I mean, I think they had 3 defensive touchdowns, like 2 or 3 defensive touchdowns in that game. Seattle's defense held an ultra explosive Broncos team to 6 points and just destroyed Peyton Manning. And then the 2000 Ravens, I mean, that Ravens defense was disgusting, but also that Giants team, kind of like this Patriots team, probably shouldn't have been in that Super Bowl. And they just got matched up against a very talented defense and a defense that was just game wrecking. And that's exactly what this was. And I would obviously at 5 put the 21 Patriots or 21 Buccaneers. Goddamn. Interception wise, like I said, Bond and DeJean's 38-yard pick 6. Will Shipley had 1 kick return. Cooper DeJean had 3 punt returns. Jake Elliott went 4 for 4 in this game, hitting a long of 50. Jake the Make might be back, brothers. I love it. 4 for 4 on field goals, 4 for 4 on extra points, so 8 total kicks made. Braden Mann only punted the ball twice for 96 yards. So, absolutely ridiculous. The Eagles thoroughly put belt to ass against the Chiefs, and Last night I was thinking about how I wanted to go upon this because I mean I was just honestly soaking in the euphoria of this. I mean I feel like 18 when we won our first Super Bowl, it was so emotional and everything because it's like the first that your city has won, and it was such a magical season. MVP front runner Carson Wentz, he goes down to an injury, and it's like, okay, fuck, our backup has to come in, but then our backup starts playing really well. So I mean, it was such a magical year, and then it's like this year, it was almost like we were a team of destiny. Like you start off the season 2 for 2. There's a 2-2. There's a lot of changes. We're coming off of two new offensive coordinator. We're coming off of a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. So the schemes are taking a little bit, but it's just as everyone, the players are going to say it. Nick Sirianni's going to say it. All of the coaches are going to say it. And I think it really does hold true is the fact that, and Saquon Barkley even said it last night in the interview, where the most important week of the season was that bye week. Because I feel like they truly figured out their identity on that bye week. They got shit together. They figured out what the fuck was going on. And from that point, I mean, they figured out what we figured out what we wanted to do, and we went upon it, and we just did the fucking thing, man. We won 10 straight games, only loss coming, and I will say this, and I'm gonna give another shout out to the Commanders, dude. The Commanders were the last team to beat the Eagles this year. Shout out to Washington. All right, y'all had a hell of a season. Y'all played a hell of a game in that game, and I'm not gonna take anything away from you. Y'all are great. But some of y'all fans, y'all gotta shut the fuck up, man. Y'all are talking way too fucking reckless. Y'all are talking way too fucking reckless for a team that has made one NFC championship game in 30 years. Act like y'all motherfuckers have been there before, and take it from a fan base, and take it from a fan who has been an Eagles fan for, you know, a long time now, almost 30 years, mind you. Born and raised Eagles fan, who's been an Eagles fan for almost 30 years, and I've witnessed multiple NFC championship games. I've witnessed us making them there. I've witnessed us losing them. I've witnessed us winning them. I mean, it is what it is, dude. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And God forbid, I hope you guys are still good, man. I hope Jaden Daniels does not have, I really hope Jaden Daniels does not have the injuries RG3 did. I really, really do. And I don't think that's going to happen again because you guys actually have a coach that gives a fuck. And you guys actually have an ownership group that gives a fuck. So, Washington fans, pat yourself on the back. You guys were the last team to beat the Super Bowl champions this year. Congratulations, guys. But some of y'all fans, you guys got to stop talking fucking reckless, man. Sitting over here acting like Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in the NFC East because of stats is absolute fucking bullshit. Stats do not tell the whole story of a game. So let's get now. Obviously, I've said my reaction. The fact that we put straight up belt to ass, and honestly, I was thinking about how I wanted to come in and do this episode. I thought about if I wanted to come in all high and mighty, super high fucking energy, just talking my shit, bringing up receipts of what I saw Chiefs fans say and all of it. Nah, man. You know what? I'm not gonna do that because I'm a better fan than that. I'm not. I've kind of made this known before too. I'm not your typical Eagles fan. Um, I'm not your typical Eagles fan, where I'm not the kind of person that after a Super Bowl win, I don't go and I don't destroy my own the city that I live in. I don't do any of that. I don't destroy the city. I don't riot. I don't fight. I don't harass fans. I talk my shit. Don't get me wrong. I will talk my shit, but I'm not gonna sit here and do what normal Eagles fans do. It's just not me. I can give praise to other teams. I will still sit here and say I give full on praise to Pat. I mean, I think he was truly rattled last in that game yesterday because of just how we were getting after him. But I will give him credit, man. I mean, he continued to try to fight and he was doing everything he could. And yes, he played the worst game of his career most likely. I mean, an 11.4 QBR is fucking horrendous, dude. But I mean, Pat, the dude's a goat, man. I mean, he's not the goat, and after now two complete Super Bowl ass whoopings, I don't think he will ever be in the Brady conversation because look, Brady never had a shitty Super Bowl performance like this. He's had rough games in the Super Bowl. i.e., 2019 Rams game, which that was just a low scoring game in general. But I mean, Brady never shit the bed like this in the Super Bowl. And this is not me glazing Brady because look, I will be the 100% the person to tell you when we played Brady in 2018, brother, I did not concede that we were winning that game until that final buzzer hit. Because at the end of the day, I knew who Tom Brady was and I knew the shit he did the year before. I was not going with it. And I mean, me and my wife, we were at my in-laws and my only thought was it's like, all right, we're up 24 nothing. We could easily win this game. However, I don't want us to turn into the 2017 Falcons. And so I was like, we just got to keep scoring more, man. We just got to keep scoring more. And funny enough, my father-in-law was like, no, we're going to score in the 40s. And I was like, man, I don't know. I mean, KC got a good defense. I just don't know. And then we kept going. And he looked at me. He was like, are you sure? And I'm like, all right. You might have been on to something on this. Like, I was very much so trying to stay humble, just saying that, I know how good this Chiefs team is. I have utmost respect for them. I love Andy Reid because he coached in Philadelphia. I love Travis Kelce. Chris Jones is an awesome player. Trent McDuffie is a great cornerback. Pat, he's a great quarterback. Um, I got up the utmost respect for the Chiefs. And again, you guys had an awesome season, but sit down and take this belt to ass, boy. So the next one I want to get into is I don't know if it's some record. But I mean the Eagles have scored 95 points in the last two playoff games this year. 55 in the conference championship game and 40 now in the Super Bowl. Someone can check me in the comments. Let me know. Is that some sort of record? I mean, I know every team that scored over 50 points in a conference championship never went on to win the Super Bowl. Every team that lost to Kirk Cousins in a season has never won a Super Bowl. Every time it's been a rematch between two teams previously. I mean, the team that won the first round has always won the second round. I mean, there was so many things that just got snapped this year in this Super Bowl. And I mean, I think it just comes down to the fact of, when you're sitting there and you're watching this as a fan of this team, you really sit there and think to yourself, I mean, holy shit. Like, I feel like there wasn't, I think I was more in shock last night. I was expecting to cry last night. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've been an athlete. I've been to the precipice of potentially the top of my sport. I've been there. I've been one game away from a state championship game in high school. I've made it to a semifinals game, so I know what it's like to be right there. And so that's why like this kind of stuff, these achievements, they always kind of bring that portion of me out. Because at the end of the day, like when you're a competitor and you finally can say I play on the best team of in my state or in the league or whatever it happens to be. I mean, it's an emotional thing. And it blows my mind a little bit to the fact of I really was sitting there and like I was expecting myself to start crying last night while watching the game. I really was. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was truly expecting myself to start crying come the end of the game, just like overwhelmed by happiness and everything. Because I mean, dude, I've watched these guys play 21 games this year, every single game. I'm tuned in every single game. I even watched preseason this year. I mean, I follow the Eagles year round, man. I really do. And I mean, this is my favorite sport. I'm now trying to springboard this into potentially a second wave of income for me to be like just being able to sit here and talk about the Eagles and everything, and using my fandom kind of as a way to just kind of get the word out there. Like, hey, guess what, man? Not all Eagles fans are the same. Like not all of us are the same. A lot of us are very logical. And honestly, I know a lot about sports history. I really do, and especially when it comes to football. I know a lot about not only Eagles history, but I mean just NFL history in general. And I love to talk football, but I mean, I'm also someone that like, hey, I can sit here and I can tell you like, man, dude, like that was a hell of a fucking trade, or that was a hell of a draft pick, or that was a hell of a signing, or guess what? Like fucking Dallas killed the offseason, or the Giants killed the offseason, or it's stuff like that. Like I don't have rivalries with other fan bases like most Eagles fans do. I don't hate the Cowboys. I don't hate the Commanders. I don't hate the Giants. I don't hate this weird rivalry that San Francisco is starting to build. I don't hate rival fan bases. I don't hate rival teams. There are certain fans of every fan base that it's like, dude, why are you fucking talking? Like, why are you doing this? But it's like, I don't hate fan bases. I don't hate other teams. Like, it's just so fucking stupid. But I mean, the point is, I think this fact of me getting back to what I was originally saying before went out on this tirade was, I think it was just one of those things where this wasn't a very emotional game for the Eagles, and I think it plays into the fact of we were up constantly in this game, and I never at one point thought as this game was going on that we were going to collapse. I never thought that was going to happen. I mean, yes, obviously, the whole, Mahomes is still great and we really got to put this game out of reach always was in my head because, I mean, dude, the guy's a fucking tremendous quarterback. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, he's an amazing quarterback, and kind of like when Brady was playing, it's like, if this game is close, I'm not comfortable. I don't give a shit how much time there is. I'm not comfortable. When you got that fucking demon on the other side of the field, I'm not fucking comfortable. And I'm so it's when your team thoroughly dominate, and it's the same thing like with the NFC Championship game. Like when we won the NFC 2 years ago, I cried. I'm not gonna lie, I really did, because it was like we rebuilt in 7 years another Super Bowl team. So it was very much so like, wow, like we're really fucking back here, and after all of these doubters and everything, we're back there. And I cried during that because I think it was so unexpected. And then again with that Super Bowl, I cry. Going home that night, even after that loss, I was upset, and I cried a little bit because of that. And that's just me. I mean, dude, look, I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to hide my emotions. If I'm someone that, you know, when I love something and I truly care a lot about something, this is the kind of emotion that I put into it. Like I said, I've watched these guys play 21 games this year. I feel like when you're truly dedicated, and I mean, honestly, I will tell you this: I have not missed an Eagles game in, oh God, I mean, probably close to 11 years. The last time I would have missed an Eagles game would have been when I was playing football, and that's because I had film on Sundays. So like, I haven't missed an Eagles game in almost 11 years. I've watched every single regular season game since then. So, I mean, when you put your heart and soul into all this, I mean, like, yes, you're going to cry tears of joy, or you're going to cry tears of sadness when it ends. It is what it is. But I mean, yeah, man, it's super, super cool to know that my team won in such a dominating fashion. And honestly, I do feel bad for the Chiefs fans that weren't assholes about all this. You guys did get straight up fucking bullied. Like, the fans that I really don't feel bad for are always the ones that talk so much fucking shit. And it's like, you can always tell the fans that are very insecure about how good their team is, because it's like, they're the loudest motherfuckers and they say the most irate shit, when it's like, okay, I know you're uncomfortable with how you think this game is about to go. And the other fans I really don't feel bad for are the Swifties, because it's like, bro, they're gonna come after my ass. I already fucking know it. They're probably gonna come after my ass. It's cool though. Bro, when Travis Kelsey retires, y'all ain't gonna give a fuck about football. Man, y'all ain't gonna give a single fuck about football. Y'all are only watching football, and you're only watching Chiefs games because you want to see Taylor Swift. You're not real football fans. I hate to fucking break it to you. You're not real fans. Y'all have showed up when the team is good, and you don't know the struggle, man. You're gonna say this is the worst thing that's happened to me as a Chiefs fan. Yeah, no shit, 'cause you've been a Chiefs fan for 2 fucking years. You front runner. Like, get the fuck out of here. But we're gonna get past that. let's get into the fact that Saquon Barkley broke the all-time rushing record in this game, postseason included. He broke Terrell Davis's record. He finished with it's 30 yards away, so he added an extra 27. He finished, I don't even remember how many fucking yards he finished with. Probably about 20. I thought he was going to finish with about 2,600, but I was clearly off. But he did break the all-time rushing record. He got it in the first half. I mean, yeah, I mean, we just kind of dominated from the jump. Barkley really didn't have a big contribution in this game. No touchdowns. Um, but I mean, look, he got the record. We didn't really need him to do much in this game, which is kind of cool to know that your best player all season essentially could be a non-factor in the Super Bowl and you win the game. Like, it just shows you how well built we are as a team. You know, like, it just shows you how well built this team is and how good this team is. And I'm happy to say that this is my team. You know. At the end of the day, though, kind of just want to give some final thoughts on both teams. I mean, Kansas City is a great fucking team. You know, obviously they're going to be back. It's not even a question. Kansas City will be back. And I think the same thing is for the Eagles. They open up as favorites to win the Super Bowl next year. You know, again, youngest defense in the NFL. Quarterbacks locked up, running backs locked up, top two receivers are locked up. Our offensive line's pretty much locked up. The only guy we got to bring back is Becton. Goddard, I'm sure we're going to we're either going to re-sign him or get a replacement. I mean, we got the youngest defense in the league. We got a defensive coordinator that's not leaving because Fangio just wants to stay in Philly. I think the only thing is what is going to happen with Kellen Moore. And surprisingly, I know the deal with the Saints was supposed to be done today. However, I really truly do. Actually, I'm going to get into that because I got that sitting as a section. I do want to also touch on the fact that Brandon Graham is going to be most likely riding off into the sunset as a two-time champion. I mean, BG, congratulations, buddy. I mean, hell of a career as an Eagle. You're one of the longest tenured Eagles on, you know, ever. You know, one of the, I think he's played the most games as an Eagle. You know, BG, congratulations. A hell of a career, buddy. If this really was your last game, I wish you nothing but the best in retirement. I know you're going to stick around the team, but I mean, hey man, ride out on top, go out on top. You know, you just came off of a triceps injury. I mean, go out on top, buddy. And also potentially Slay. I know he said he wants to play one more year. He still is under contract next year for us, but I mean, again, Slay is 35. The fact that he's still playing at the top of his game as a cornerback is very impressive. I think it goes to show more about his preparation. I honestly think Coop and Q have kind of injected some youth into him a little bit. I feel like, you know, he's been playing at such a high level because he's being a mentor to these guys. I mean, Slay, if you do decide to retire this offseason, brother, I know you've only been here since 2020, but I mean, you're going down as one of the best Eagles corners in Eagles history. I mean, we had a lot of rough corner play, and then Slay kind of came in and turned that all around for us, man. So, Slay, if this is also your last game, buddy, congratulations, you're going out as a champ. I can't, you know, there's so much that I'm proud to say about some of these guys. You know, Lane's now a two-time champion, and Lane's going down as one of the best players in Eagles history. BG is going to go down as one of the best players in Eagles history. Slay can potentially go down in what is one of the best players in Eagles history, even though he only played 4 seasons here. You know, I mean, look, both of you guys, BG and Slay, if these are your last games, I'm happy that you guys were able to go out as champions. But Slay, obviously, if you want to come back, brother, we're going to take you back, man. We love you in Philly. We are very critical of you because we know how good you are. But at the end of the day, we are very happy, and we're happy that you continue to play at a very high level here in Philly. Former Giants. Oh, the Bills. Giants hired a new coach. Okay. So I do want to hop into the fact that I think after this game, Jalen Hurts now outplaying Patrick Mahomes in back-to-back Super Bowls. Jalen has now 100% solidified himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think we need to stop with this whole bullshit of his stats don't show that he is one of the best quarterbacks, because at the end of the day, this man does what he has to do to win a fucking game. All right? He doesn't need to go out there and throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns to win a game. No, we have such a complimentary team that it's like, you want to stack the box to stop Barkley, cool. He's going to dice you up through the air. If you want to sit back and try to blanket Devonta and AJ, cool. Barkley's going to toast you up. I mean, come on, man. And there are plenty of things with this too. I mean, Jalen, he read Spag's defense like a fucking book on certain plays. The route to Dotson that everyone thought was the first touchdown, dude, he checked into that play and just hit Dotson on a perfect play. There was a couple of other plays too where you noticed he checked into the play and it resulted in a big play. It's just, what Jalen does is so misconstrued, you know? It's so misconstrued about what he does. In the fact that I think people look at Jalen and say, well, he doesn't put up top quarterback numbers, instantly devalues him. I mean, bro, what are you going to say now? What are these fucking analysts going to say? What are these clowns like Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd going to say? What are you going to fucking say, bro? I mean, the dude just went out and won a Super Bowl and dismantled one of the best defenses in the NFL. On top of that, one Super Bowl MVP. Put up almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns this game and only turned the ball over once. That was Jalen's first turnover in, I think, in 9 playoff games, 8 playoff games at that point. What is this? What's the narrative now going to be? What's the narrative? Because, like, he wasn't carried to the Super Bowl by Barkley. Obviously, Jalen was the one that won us this game offensively. I mean, Jalen scored 21 points himself. He accounted for 3 touchdowns. What else? Like, what? The haters got to fucking stop at some point, man. And I mean, the dude does nothing but goes out and wins. And there's people still find a reason to criticize him. Can we lay the fuck off? Like, lay the fuck off, man. Get off the man's dick. The haters need to get the fuck off of his back. But also, I kind of want y'all to keep fucking hating, because this motherfucker is motivated by hatred. He's motivated by the fact that y'all hate on him and you doubt him. Why do you think this man had his phone background as the Super Bowl loss from the last time? To motivate him. So you know what? Yeah, the narrative is not going to ever fucking change. People might not ever respect Jalen Hurts as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. And that's perfectly fine. Because if you don't want to respect him, that's fine. He's going to use that disrespect as fuel, and he's going to continue to go out and kick the ass of any fucking team he plays. Because that's just what Jalen does. Jalen wins, and he does not care. All right? So go ahead. Keep fucking hating. That's perfectly fine. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the stupid fucking sound bites that Nick Wright is going to give us bitching about how the fucking Chiefs lost. I mean, this motherfucker was so goddamn confident that the Chiefs were going to fucking win that game. But guess what? They didn't. They didn't win the game. They got their backs blown out. They got treated like a fucking sorority girl at a frat party. Just absolutely passed around. What are we going to fucking say now? Next point is the fact that Nick Sirianni, he needs to, again, kind of like the same thing with Jalen Hurts. Nick Sirianni, the disrespect for Nick Sirianni needs to stop. This man, in his first 4 seasons, has accomplished things that not many other coaches have accomplished. He's second in wins in his first 4 years, only behind George Seifert. And Sirianni's at 47 wins. Seifert was at 53. All right? No. He's taken his team now to 2 Super Bowls in his first 4 seasons. He has never missed the playoffs in his first 4 seasons, and he has now won a Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni, potentially, and I think I can confidently say this, he is starting to bear down on Andy Reid as the best coach in Eagles history. And I would not be surprised if that gap is not very close to being closed and Sirianni taking over. I think a lot of the time we talked about it with Doug Peterson, where we thought Doug Peterson was going to go on to be the best coach. Sirianni has done things that Doug Peterson never did. Peterson never made it to 2 NFC championship games. Peterson did not make the playoffs every year that he was a coach for the Eagles. He didn't. It's just it just fucking is what it is. Peterson did it. Nick Sirianni has. And I can't see that. We have now built a team ready to start a dynasty coming out of Philadelphia. And Sirianni is going to be our coach. And if there's still Eagles fans that truly believe that he is not the coach for us, I'm going to revoke your fucking Eagles fan card, and I'm going to need you to get the fuck out of here. Because this man has just done things that no other Eagles coach has ever done. Andy Reid didn't do it. Doug Peterson didn't do it. Buddy Ryan didn't do it. Dick Vermeil didn't do it. I mean, there's only been 4 Eagles coaches that have ever led us to a Super Bowl. And that was Vermeil. Was it Vermeil coach? Maybe it was Buddy Ryan in 80. But Andy Reid and Doug Peterson. Nick Sirianni is the only coach that ever went to multiple Super Bowls as an Eagles coach. He's one of the few coaches in Eagles history that has ever went to multiple NFC championship games. Andy Reid went to 3 straight. And honestly, if we went to 3 straight and we did not make a Super Bowl out of that, I would be extremely pissed. I would not be surprised if we go back to the NFC championship game again next year. But Nick Sirianni, I would say Andy Reid is still slightly ahead of him just due to the longevity and how much he constantly won. But I think one more NFC championship game appearance and potentially another Super Bowl berth, Nick Sirianni might go down as the best head coach in Eagles history, and I don't even think it'll be close. I think the narrative also needs to start, and we might need to start talking about the fact that Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in Eagles history as well. And this is coming from a long list of quarterbacks. Not even a long list, but a short list, but also a very talented list of quarterbacks. Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, Nick Foles. I know a lot of Eagles fans don't want to admit it. Carson Wentz. Now Jalen Hurts. I mean, basically from the Michael Vick. I almost forgot about Michael Vick. I cannot forget about him. Granted, Vick did not do much in his time in Philly, but he was still one of our best quarterbacks. Legitimately, Ron Jaworski in the 80s. The 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now 2020s. I mean, I feel like we've had fairly solid quarterback play for the most part. Jaworski was pretty damn good in his day. Cunningham was an absolute, dog. McNabb was a scrambler and a gunslinger. Vic, again, same thing, scrambler and gunslinger. I mean, Folsey, even in his time that he started games, he was still really fucking good. People Eagles fans like to really shit on Carson Wentz, but forget that Carson Wentz wasn't actually as bad as what people think he was. And now Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in Eagles history. And I think this Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP shows it. Yes, the numbers were not the same as when Nick Foles played because that game was a lot higher scoring. that game was a blow for blow game. This was just an absolute ass kicking. Jalen Hurts is the first quarterback in Eagles history to ever go to multiple Super Bowls, to ever go to multiple NFC, or Donovan McNabb went to multiple NFC championship games. But I just feel like Jalen has done nothing but win as a quarterback of the Eagles. I think we really need to kind of start talking about the fact that Jalen is the best quarterback in Eagles history. And I think the gap is only going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, we are very lucky to have Jalen as our quarterback. Someone that does not care about individual stats and individual awards and only wants to win championships. Us as Eagles fans need to be extremely happy with him. And for the people that still hate on Jalen Hurts because he doesn't light up the stat sheet, y'all are fucking idiots because you obviously don't realize exactly what this man fucking does. And the fact that all this man does is fucking win. Does not turn the ball over. You know, he does nothing but win. Every quarterback's going to have a down year, and that's what last year was for him. But every quarterback's going to always have good years. And as long as you're continuously helping us win, I do not give a fuck what your stats look like. You could throw over 100 yards a game and 1 touchdown, and I will be fucking happy as long as we're winning the fucking game. That's all it fucking is. And also, I truly believe that right now, where we are sitting, this is the most successful period in Eagles history. And it's not even a question. 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. And I mean, we could even go the past 10 years. We've been to 3 Super Bowls in 10 years. We've won 2 of them. As an Eagles fan, and when you really look at the Eagles' history, I mean, this is by far Super Bowl era history, because I don't give a shit about pre-Super Bowl, pre-Super Bowl shit, because none of that fucking matters. We don't count NFL championships when talking about championships. Because if that's the fucking case, we're one of the best teams of all time. But the thing is, pre-Super Bowl era, or post-Super Bowl era, with the era that we are in right now, this is the most successful period in Eagles history. I don't care about the multiple championship games that we went to under Andy McNabb. We did not go to multiple Super Bowls. Howie Roseman, since the firing of Chip Kelly, has been on a 10-year run of absolute fury. He has built 3 different Super Bowl teams and continues to prove why he is the best GM in the NFL. And I think this offseason is going to prove the same fucking thing. We're going to continue to be one of the best teams in the NFL because I think we are truly built to last. I'm going to get into who I think we should re-sign this offseason as well. But, we're built to last. We have a great coach. We have a great offense. We have some of our best guys already locked up. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're very, very set right now. But yeah, this is easily the most successful period in Eagles history, and argue with a fucking wall if you don't think so. And then also just one more thing, I need to take a shot at the Giants again, and not really even a shot, but something that I don't think gets talked about enough. The Giants should fire their damn GM yesterday. You let Saquon Barkley walk to a division rival essentially, because you didn't think someone was going to pay him and you were going to be able to lowball him. The man goes on to then rush for over 2,000 yards, only the 9th player to ever do it. Then goes on to break the single season rushing record, postseason included, and wins the Super Bowl, all in his first year with the Eagles. If the Giants keep their GM, the Giants are officially a joke of a franchise, because your GM, and I understand the Giants have a lot of holes and you're not even close to competing, but the fact that still it stands as you guys let the best player, and could have potentially been the best player in your franchise history, walk because you did not want to pay him what he was actually worth, and then he goes to the Eagles and truly shows that he is exactly what he is, and he is the best running back in the league, and y'all just refuse to ever build around him. That's on you. That is malpractice on your fucking end. You literally let the best running back in the NFL walk because you didn't think he was worth 11 mil to 12 mil a season. Guys are a bunch of fucking idiots. So I want to get on to what I think is next for the Eagles. I got a couple of points for this, 2 of which we're going to kind of merge into one. But, Nick Sirianni said it last night after the win. Let's run it back. Let's run this shit back. And I think we do. I mean, I think we run it back again. Most of this team is going to stay the same. It's going to be the same roster going into next year, which is what I think, builds even more confidence in me as a fan. But I think the main thing with this is actually I got 4 points, and basically 2 of these are both. I'm splitting these really into only 2 points, but the fact of, should Kellen Moore truly stay or leave? And I understand, chase a bag, you just won a Super Bowl. You just proved again how good of an offensive coordinator you actually are. But the point is that a team like the Saints wants to bring him in. And I mean, this is truly I mean, we're sitting here, and right now I'm recording this on 2:26 on Monday morning after the Super Bowl. All right, not in the morning, my fault. In the afternoon, I'm recording this at 2:26 in the afternoon, the day after the Super Bowl. And reports was supposed to be that the Saints' contract with Kellen Moore was supposed to be signed by today. Well, it is now about halfway through the afternoon, and the contract has not been signed yet. And part of that makes me think that obviously the celebration probably went on for hours into the night last night. I already fucking know it did. Barkley and DeJean were probably celebrating like a motherfucker after that game, since it was both of their birthdays. But I just, I really feel like if Kellen Moore wanted to leave, he would have signed that contract. And I think, yes, was he potentially the top rated? Was he the top pick for them to get there as their new head coach? I absolutely think so. But it was the whole thing of, did Kellen Moore maybe realize after winning that Super Bowl, being like, why should I leave this though? Like, I could truly believe, and I truly believe this, that there has potentially been a conversation that was going on this morning between Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and Kellen Moore. And I really think they probably sat down, most likely over breakfast or whatever fucking meal they ended up eating first, and probably sat down and talked and was like, all right, Kellen, look, we know you're moving on to be, you want to move on to be the head coach here or in New Orleans. What would it take for us to keep you here? Or is there a certain player you want us to go out and get? Is there, certain things play calling wise we should change up? Is there certain things you want to implement going into next year? What is it? Do you want a bag? Do you want to become the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL? Is that what you want? Because, and I truly think like they're going to lay it out and they're going to be like, look, and this is not to bash your decision or anything, but I mean, you're going to be leaving a built team here with Philadelphia where you could potentially go on to win another Super Bowl. But you're going to be leaving to a team that is in cap hell, that truly doesn't have very many young pieces on it. Chris Olave is a beast. I love Chris Olave. Olave is a beast. And I mean, Derek Carr is Shaheed is an explosive playmaker. Kamara is not what he used to be. Kendra Miller is not the future there. I mean, I'm just gonna be completely fucking honest with you, man. I mean, Miller's not the piece. Sorry, guys, I'm pulling up who the Eagles have for free agents this year. All right, so I got that up, but this is just going to be getting up to my next point. I think they're really going to break it down and be like, look, the Saints is a very aging roster, and honestly, do you really want to sit here and think to yourself like, shit, maybe I shouldn't have left Philadelphia another year or so? And I think Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie and Nick Sirianni are all going to legitimately sit there and be like, look, what do we have to do to keep you here? Because we want to run this back. We want to build a dynasty here, and we want you to be part of it. So I think a lot of this is going to come down. Sorry, I thought I saw a breaking news thing that said I was talking about Kellen Moore. I really think there's a meeting being had. I really do. I mean, I think I truly believe, and I truly believe this, is that the Eagles front office and Nick Sirianni are laying it all out for Kellen Moore and are like, look, we want you to stay. What do we have to do to get you to stay here? Because we don't want you to leave. And I think they're truly realizing like this constant revolving door of either we're letting go of OCs or we're either letting go of OCs or we're firing an OC because they don't work out. Like, we need to get consistency in here. And I think we have that with the defense now with Fangio, because he does not want to leave. The man just wants to sit there, enjoy Philly sports, fucking rip zins and call defensive plays. That's all he wants to do. So he wants to stay in Philly. We just need to find consistency on the offensive side. And I truly believe that if they're laying this all out for Kellen Moore and saying to him, look, we want you to stay. We want to run this back. And I then saw an interview with a local news station of Kellen Moore after the game. He did not sound like the kind of guy that wanted to leave. He really didn't. He sounded like after tasting what this is like, I really have a feeling he's going to kick back and not go to New Orleans. But now my next point is I want to get into our free agencies and potentially what our offseason could look like. And I know it's like, all right, Nick, like you guys just won the Super Bowl less than 24 hours ago and you're already talking about the offseason. Yes, we are, because again, the job's still not finished. The job's finished for this year. That's cool, but another season starts. We got a whole nother chip to chase now, and we got to get better because now we got a target on the back. We're the defending champs. I mean, it just is what it is. We are the defending champs now, and the defending champs got to keep getting better, don't we? So here's the thing, and this is why I want to pull up our list. So the big guys that I think everyone is really talking about when it comes to Eagles free agency is Bond, Milton Williams, Sweaty J, and Becton. I think those are kind of the big guys right now that are kind of that we're kind of sitting here and being like, all right, what are we going to do with these guys? All right. So I do want to kind of go down the whole list of things. Shefty already put out the Eagles list this morning. So we got Bond, Sweat, Milton, BG, which most likely BG is going to retire. I just think it is what it is. BG is most likely going to retire, and if he doesn't, we're definitely going to bring him back. I'm not even worried about that. Becton, Fred Johnson, Avante Maddox, Rick Lovato, Kenny Gainwell, Oren Burks, CJ Uzama, Jack Driscoll, Nick Gates, and LaRaven Clark. So I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think when it comes to the four big guys, and I truly believe this, between Bond, Milt, Sweat, and Becton, I think we only re-signed two of them. And here's exactly why I say this. I think Bond definitely gets an extension. And I know Howie is not used to paying linebackers, but Howie found such a diamond in the rough with fucking Bond. And I think he's going to re-sign him. He's going to bring him back. And I think the other guy that gets re-signed, because I really think Jeff Stoutland's going to go to them and be like, look, we should bring him back, is going to be Mekhi Becton. I mean, Becton was such a mauler in the run game for us this year. And I think leading to that is I think we only bring back those two guys. And here's the exact reason why I say this. I teased this last week, and I was talking about this last week, where I think we don't bring Sweat back, and I don't think we bring Milt back, because here's the thing: we're four deep on the defensive line, at defensive tackle, and a lot of our edge rushers can always slide in and play at DT. So here's the thing: right now, when we're looking at DT, take Milton Williams out of there, take Sweat out of there. When we're looking at DT right now, we're sitting here and we're truly looking at Carter, Davis, and Ajamo. That's pretty. I mean, Ajamo started getting more and more snaps. I'm really fucking happy with that. We can always draft another DT too. I mean, we can draft another DT and we can develop another DT. I mean, Big Clint Hurt is going to develop him like a beast. Edgewise with Sweat. I mean, especially if BG decides not to retire, I could see us letting Sweat walk and bringing BG back, all for the point of that. I think we go out and we go after one or two pieces, and I'm going to get into that, but I want to keep going through some of this. So like I already said, I think Mekhi Becton comes back. I think Fred Johnson comes back as well. I think we'll bring him back on a light contract because he was actually fairly good for us when he played. So I'm not upset about that. Avante Maddox, I don't think he'll be back. I think we're so set at nickel at this point. We're good. I don't think Maddox will come back. And even if we got to get another rookie, I mean, I think we'll be fine. Long snapper Rick Lovato. Lovato will be back. Lovato's been kind of like a lifetime Eagle at this point. So I think Lovato comes back as a long snapper. Honestly, just off of the playoffs alone, I think Oren Burks could be back because potentially I don't know if oh my god, fuck, I'm blanking. I'm fucking blanking. Not Nolan Smith. Oh my god. Oh my god, our other middle linebacker. Fuck. Nakobe Dean. I don't know if Nakobe will be ready for opening day, and especially if we do bring back Bond. I could see us bringing back Oren Burks and kind of letting Trot develop a little bit more. I'm all right with letting Trot sit and develop a little bit more, continuously just getting a little more playing time, filling in where injuries have to happen, or we let Burks walk because we saw enough out of Trot that we could be like, all right, well, we think Axeman Jr. can be good, and we'll go out and sign another low level linebacker just to kind of give us 4. It's fine. Um, I would love for us to bring back Kenneth Gainwell. I really would. I don't know if it's there because I think Shipley showed enough that we could probably use Shipley, but I would love to bring back Kenny G. I mean, I really would. Or we just pick someone up in the draft. I mean, I'm cool with that. CJ Ozama definitely not back. Jack Driscoll, Gates, and LaRaven Clark. Gates probably not back. Driscoll just somehow sticks around, bro. He's been sticking around for a couple of years. I just feel like he finds a way to stick around. He'll end up making it on the practice squad too. I'm not even worried about that. He'll make his way onto the practice squad, and it'll lead to him being a very good depth piece for us. It's going to happen. I mean, we're also very deep at guard and tackle as well, surprisingly. So I'm not really worried about him, but I have a feeling Driscoll's just going to end up on the practice squad somehow. Gates, maybe he might end up on the practice squad too because he wasn't bad when he filled in. But the reason why I think we only bring back 2 of our big names, I mean, we're going to have a fair amount of money this offseason. So I think we got like 30 mil or something like that. We'll have a fair amount of money this offseason. We could definitely make something shake with Bond and Becton, bring back some of these other guys. But I think the big fish we're going to go, one of 2 things is going to go down. Howie's going to see this and be like, all right, look, we definitely need to upgrade an edge rusher, especially if we don't bring Sweat back. If we don't bring Sweat back, this move is one of these 2 moves is probably going to happen. Either we're going to make a splash trade and we're going to get Myles Garrett. I said it last week, but I think Myles Garrett is an Eagle. If Cleveland is not looking for a lot, I'm pretty sure we have 2 seconds this year. If we throw them Bryce Huff, a second, and like a third from the following year, and maybe a second 2 years down the road or something like that, I think Howie gets it done. I mean, when you have a player like that that's already requested a trade, his trade value is going to be substantially lower than if they just outright traded him. Or what's going to happen is we're going to trade up in the draft, and we're going to grab Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Or if for some fucking bullshit ass reason, I don't fucking know how or why this would happen, Abdul Carter tanks his draft stock and falls to the Eagles. And honestly, if that happens, oh, Jesus Christ, the NFL had done fucked up for the 3rd straight year. I mean, it just is what it is, Also, I think Bradbury can be cut this year, and we don't have that big of a cap hit. So Bradbury could also free up a lot of fucking space for us if we cut Bradbury. Yeah, I mean, I really think it's either going to be Myles Garrett or Abdul Carter from Penn State. If we can get baby Micah, I'd be really happy with that. I know he's a Cowboys player, but I mean, I'm a huge fan of Micah Parsons. I love Micah Parsons. I think he's a hell of an end. He plays a tremendous edge rusher. So, I mean, he would fix a lot of what we need. And as you guys might not know, I'm not a huge fan of Penn State, but Abdul Carter is a beast. So I would not mind him on the Eagles. So yeah, I think it will either be Myles Garrett or Abdul Carter. We'll make something shake if we don't bring back Sweat and Milt. If we end up bringing back Sweat and Milt, then all right, that's cool. That's cool. I'm fine with it. Look, we know what Sweat gives us. We know Milt has developed into a really good rusher as a DT. I mean, at the end of the day, I have said this before, and I will continue to say this. Whatever Howie Roseman decides to do, I'm here for it. Because at the end of the day, Howie is the best GM in the NFL. And what he decides to do and the moves he makes are obviously going to be the best for the team. And he also consults with his coaches a lot too. So I am not worried whatsoever. Whatever Howie happens to do, we're going to make it happen. And I'm going to be happy with it because I know at the end of the day, we're going to continue to win, man. And that's what it is. But anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up this episode. We're going on about an hour and 15 minutes. Go Birds, baby. Eagles are Super Bowl 59 champions. We have hoisted our second Lombardi. Get off of Jalen Hurts' dick. Get off of Nick Sirianni's dick. Hit the like button, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell to always stay up to date when I upload this. Also, MLB The Show content will be potentially coming to the channel very soon. So make sure you hit that shit so you always can see when that happens. And like always, guys, these episodes are going up every Tuesday. So make sure you stick around. Make sure you always have the notification bell locked and loaded for when these go up. Obviously, now that the NFL season is starting to wrap up, there won't be any more really NFL talks until free agency kicks off. But spring training does start. So I will be potentially covering not covering, but like giving updates on the Yankees and Phillies. And I don't know, man. We're gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do next week for this, John. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you everyone for watching. Hit the like, subscribe, and that notification bell. Hit that John up. I'm gonna catch you on the next one. Go Birds, Super Bowl 59 champions.